Upstanding, as we invite him to come and address us. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Asante sana. Thank you very much. Chairman of the Council of Governors, Governor Nanok, governors and deputy governors here present, cabinet secretaries, diplomats, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by saying that it is with great pleasure I join you today at this inaugural meeting, an induction meeting for our duly elected governors and deputy governors. I cannot begin without first passing my congratulations to each and every one of you on your election. And indeed, I am proud of our voters, most importantly, for choosing 3 of our distinguished women as governors. And I think this choice by our voters demonstrates clearly that we in Kenya have indeed come of age. Ladies and gentlemen, you won the confidence of the electorate, and it is now your responsibility to deliver on their aspirations. And I know how tough it is. But at the end of the day, I believe in you because I believe in the good judgment of the Kenyan voter. And so I wish each and every one of you success over the next 5 years, in my strong belief that you have the capacity to deliver. I consider this meeting important and timely. Having walked the devolution journey for the last 5 years, therefore this meeting should provide all of us, we in the national government, you and the devolved governments, it should give us an opportunity to reflect on what has worked well, what has not worked as we would have liked, and then come up with a common strategy to implement over the next 5 years to further deepen our devolution. Honorable Governors, there is no doubt that we have been able to achieve much over the last 4.5 years. We have much to be proud of as a country. And as I have said before, and I repeat here, I believe devolution is working. We have turned every county into an important cog in the wheel of our collective aspirations as Kenyans. Every county is now a fully fledged center for economic development. This time, no one has been left behind on the road to prosperity. Time and again, we hear the stories that confirm that conclusion. There have been many firsts across the nation as a result of devolution. The very first stretch of tarmac in Wajir, the first fully equipped early childhood education center in some constituencies, and only recently, our colleague from Marsabit enrolled over 10,000 new members into NHIF. And the list is continuous. However, while much has been achieved in furthering the devolution agenda, much more still remains to be done. But we must celebrate the distance we have covered and then turn our attention to the road that is ahead of us. Ladies and gentlemen, like some of you, this is my second and final term in office. That means one has to choose one's priorities carefully. Priorities that will meaningfully impact on the lives of our people and for which each of us will be remembered. For me, I have some development priorities that I announced during the celebrations of independence on the 12th of December. And just to remind, the first of these is to strengthen the unity of our people at all levels. Secondly, to improve the quality of life through the provision of universal health care. Thirdly, to increase access to affordable housing. And fourth, to ensure food and nutritional security. And as you can see from those four thematic angles, that will require deep partnership with the devolved governments. The last is to enhance job creation and opportunities for our young population by focusing on the expansion of our manufacturing sector. These priorities are without doubt ambitious, but the Kenyans who elected us to represent them expect nothing less. It is our responsibility to get to work on the agenda they chose. It ought to go without saying that Kenyans expect their two levels of government to work in partnership. They expect us to consult. They expect us to cooperate. And indeed, they expect us to coordinate our activities. No Kenyan ever voted for disorder. No Kenyan voted for disarray or dispute in government. Regrettably, the last 4 years have not been totally free of these ills. Consultations and dialogue sometimes took a back seat. As institutions in both levels of government, nobody is not to blame, rushed to court to settle matters that could easily have been achieved through administrative processes. Indeed, as some of you will recall at our summit meeting in Sagana last year, I did direct the Cabinet Secretary for Devolution and Planning to work with all relevant stakeholders to develop alternative dispute resolution mechanisms as envisioned in the Intergovernmental Relations Act. This way, the two levels of government would not need to go to courts except as a very last resort. Indeed, I am informed that a draft dispute resolution mechanism is now ready for validation by all stakeholders, and I urge you to make use of it when it is ready. For my part, governors and deputy governors, I promise to do everything in my power to satisfy myself that intergovernmental institutions and the forums for dialogue, consultation, and agreement are operational and vibrant. And in this regard, it's also a pleasure to remember that the judiciary has in recent pronouncements returned a number of disputes for resolution through intergovernmental mechanisms, reaffirming the duty of both levels of government to avoid litigation. I believe we should adhere to the constitutional provision that alternative dispute resolution ought to be the first resort and litigation a last. Honorable Governors, ladies and gentlemen, as you will recall, our second medium-term plan, 2013-14, had as its theme, transforming Kenya, a pathway to devolution, social economic development, equity, and national unity. What was true then, in the first 5 years of our devolution, is still true today. What remains of us is to renew our vigor, our commitment, and our focus. Devolution remains our flagship reform agenda. Let me therefore remind you that as today's leadership in our counties and national government, our people look upon us to liberate them from economic bondage. The journey to prosperity is long, but we must not grow weary, and we cannot leave anyone behind. You are the leaders. It is your responsibility to protect the weak and enable the strong. Over the next 5 years, we must, and I repeat again, we must strengthen and deepen devolution in ways that make a real difference in the lives of our people. Luckily, our Constitution and the various laws and policies that we have enacted, if faithfully and earnestly pursued, will undoubtedly help us achieve our shared development objectives. We are like the man in the parable who found a firm rock and there built his house. The wind came and the house stood strong. Devolution is without doubt our rock, and our nation will emerge stronger as we deepen it. We all need to make devolution work. Our intergovernmental structures are well beyond the learning curve. Our fiscal framework for sharing revenue is working, and we have the requisite human capacity. And during the last election, we have heard the desires and aspirations of our people. We have all we need to meet the aspirations of Kenyans for growth and shared prosperity. Let me therefore share with you my own expectations of what we need to deliver for Kenyans, having also had the opportunity to traverse this country and listen to them. At the county level, in support of the priorities I outlined earlier, I would like to propose what I shall call devolution deals for your consideration. Establishment of decentralized units, decentralization and resourcing of such units as contemplated in Part 4 of the County Governments Act have the potential to mobilize and engage our youth more meaningfully. The presence of government structure can trigger economic activity that can transform our villages. At this level, our micro, small, and medium enterprises sector already employs approximately 14 million Kenyans. Affordable credit and provision of requisite infrastructure at the lowest levels of the decentralized unit would bring the fruits of devolution far faster to many more Kenyans, and would also help us meet our development goals inclusively. Further, fiscal decentralization. We all recognize the need for identifying and investing in programs that lead to more equitable access to public services everywhere. Our resource sharing formula is crafted to address inequalities across the country. And I'm proud that my administration has ensured that over the last 4 years, disbursement to counties have been far above the constitutional minimum threshold. And the difference that equitable distribution of resources has made in the country is there for all of us to see. What we need is to improve, as Governor Nanok has said, the flow of funds to ensure that they are received timely. The devolution deal here is this. Can county governments adapt elements of resource allocation formula so that sub-counties, wards, and villages receive allocations from their center? The potential impact in the next 5 years, I believe, if we did this, would be enormous. The next is private sector involvement. The private sector, as we all know, is the engine for economic growth, both at the national but also at the county level. We need to reach out and engage more with this sector with a view to getting them to invest more. More importantly, investment in the small and medium-scale enterprises. Such investments will help in creating jobs and harnessing the creativity of our youthful population. To do this, we need to create the right investment environment for initiatives like this to take place. I am indeed happy, as I mentioned the other day, that as a country, in 3 years, we have managed to move 56 places in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business Index from 136 to 80. I challenge us to work a lot more to ensure our local businesses enjoy similar ease in doing their businesses so that we can intensify them to expand their operations. Lastly, as has been mentioned by President Mahama, the transformation of our public service. None of this will be delivered if it is not accompanied by the right transformation of public service. And I therefore ask you all today to join you in putting our public service on notice. Let us not allow faceless bureaucrats and functionaries to deny the public the quality of service they deserve. Let us work together, strive to provide Kenyans with the highest quality of service in every sphere. And I expect to see greater partnership between county governments and the national government in the expansion and integration of services through expanded and improved Huduma centers. And I also expect to see decisive action taken against public servants under your supervision who deliberately, through their actions, deprive Kenyans of quality services. This way, I am confident we can make the strides we need to realize our national aspirations as articulated in our National Vision 2030, and indeed as also articulated in the Sustainable Development Goals of which we aspire. In conclusion, I want to assure you that my administration will, as we have done over the last 4 years, continue to support county governments to deliver on your mandates. Over the next 5 years, we expect to establish a robust framework for development that integrates citizen priorities with balanced budgeting, strengthened fiscal discipline, and accountability at both levels of government, the national and the county. Kenyans expect us to deliver on the promises we have made to improve their well-being. They expect us to ensure that our young men and women get jobs and that they have food on their tables. They want quality health care to be accessible to all, and they want decent, affordable shelter for all. We therefore must commit to make sure that every shilling of their money works for them. That responsibility is ours, the county government, as well as the national government. I want to conclude with just 2 points in line with what Governor Nanok said, your chair. And that is me, I am willing and I am looking forward to working with you individually and collectively, regardless of your political affiliation. Mine is to ensure that we deliver services to our people. Mine is to ensure that we transform the lives of Kenyans wherever they may be. And as I said earlier, that shall not be done with an attitude of competition, but it can be done if we adapt, as Governor Nanok said, an attitude of collaboration, irregardless of whether you're in the national government or in the county government, we have been elected by the same people. And as I said, those people did not elect us to be divisive. Those people did not elect us to engage in politics. Ours is an executive role. Ours is to deliver on their aspirations. And on that, I am open to dialogue. I am open to talking, like I said, individually and collectively with each one of you to achieve those objectives, but not to engage in empty rhetoric. I conclude as I extend a hand of friendship and as I extend a hand of partnership by also making it very clear. Everything we do, we must do within constitutional order. We have all sworn, respectively, to uphold that constitution and to respect it. And I expect each and every one of us to do so. So as much as within that order I extend my hand, I must also make it very clear that those who wish to operate outside of that order can expect nothing else than to be dealt with firmly. We will and shall not entertain any language. We will and shall not entertain any action that either threatens the territorial integrity of our nation or that threatens life and property. Kwa hivyo, so long as those things are kando, mambo haya mengine yote tuongee, tujadiliane, mimi sina taabu. Lakini hiyo laini mkipita, basi sheria ndiyo sheria. Mungu awabariki, and I wish you very successful deliberations. Thank you very much.
We wish to Mombasa.